It's time to get all your Star Wars news in a single file. From Fantha Tracks TV, this is Good Morning Tatooine!
Good morning, Tatooine. Indeed, we're back once again for your weekly recap of everything Star Wars and Lucasfilm. I'm your host, Brian Cameron, and with me, as always, my co-host, Mr. Paul Naylor.
Hello, Bri. I've got a bad back. Be gentle with me, my friend.
I'll try. It wasn't me. I haven't been beating you up.
It feels like you have.
Mr. Newbold there in the chat this week. He'll be our fact checker, I'm sure, as normal, as we stumble through this week's news from FanthaTracks.com and everything Star Wars and Lucasfilm. And we're also going to be doing a big deep dive into Andor's Season 1, Episodes 3 and 4. Episode 3 is my favourite episode of the whole thing, and that's what got me hooked on Andor, I think. So I'm looking forward to that. Shall we see what's coming up, Paul?
Let's take a look, my friend.
So, on tonight's show, up first, we'll be checking out Warwick Davis receiving his BAFTA fellowship.
Then after that, we've got Star Wars Celebration Japan 2025. We've had the announcement of Hayden, Christianson and Vanessa Marshall are heading over there.
Fantha Tracks had an exclusive this week with a reveal of some Star Wars Unlimited cards. We'll be checking them out.
And then Star Wars Episode 1 Jedi Power Battles is coming to a limited run of games.
And Hasbro Star Wars Fanstream is back this Wednesday, the 26th. We'll be looking ahead to that and speculating as to what may be on the agenda for this week's releases from Hasbro. So lots there, Paul, to chew over. We also have, as I said, our deep dive into Andor's Season 1, Episodes 3 and 4, and my segment, which I lovingly call the Death Star Cometh. But before that, let's chew over the news. And first up, Warwick Davis has received his BAFTA fellowship for his work as an actor, a comedian, a presenter, and a producer. Quite an honour for Warwick.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to us, he's quite a big name. That was no pun intended. But you know, to many people out there, they're probably wondering, oh, what's he been in? And then when you see the list of all the things that he's actually been involved with, it's pretty impressive resume these days. For me, it doesn't really get much better than was it Life's Too Short? The comedy that he did with the base. That was genius. Very self-deprecating, very sort of tongue-in-cheek from Warwick, and it did show that he got some really good acting skills. But yeah, I loved that. Obviously, we first got to know him thanks to his grandma, who got him involved as Wicket in Return of the Jedi, and to have been in the business 40 years.
Yeah.
So you know, he's done very well, and it was nice to see the speech that he gave. Very emotional for him, and Harrison and his daughter were in the crowd as well.
Should we check out the speech itself and give everyone a chance that maybe hasn't seen it to cast their eyes over it?
Thank you very much indeed. Wow. Thank you very much. Well, this is probably the best thing that's ever happened to me. And I've been in Star Wars. Sorry, Tom. Thank you so much. Now, I'm going to keep this short. It's been a long night. Short? Yeah, you can laugh. It's good. I thought it had gone... Good. I won't do any more, though. That's the last one. But thank you, everyone. So I'm going to firstly say thank you to my mum, my very first agent all those years ago, and the reason I'm here tonight, quite literally. No, she's not a cab driver. She gave birth to me 55 years ago. Thank you, Mum. And also I'd like to thank my incredible team, my agent, and all the people who have supported me throughout my career. This award isn't just for me, it's for all of you. Hang on a minute, sod that, I've done all the work. It's for me, this is all mine. Above all, though, I'd like to dedicate and thank my wonderful wife, Sammy, who died almost a year ago. She was also always so supportive of my career, encouraged me to grab every opportunity with both hands. However, I soon noticed that her level of enthusiasm for me taking a particular role was often relative to how much she wanted that new designer handbag. Since then, life has been pretty tough for me. But thanks to the support of our wonderful children, Annabelle and Harrison, I've been able to continue working and engaging in life. Special mention too should go to Sponge. You know who you are. Thank you for showing me that life can still have meaning and for helping me to laugh and to love again. And one final thought. To anyone out there dreaming of telling their story or creating something meaningful, go for it. The world needs your vision. And in future, if you need an actor to help bring that vision to life, remember the little fellow with the BAFTA. And finally, thank you, BAFTA, from the bottom of my heart for this incredible honor. I shall treasure it always. I'll see you in the movies. Thank you.
Lovely moment there, I think, with Warwick.
Great speech. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did very.
And also good to see Jack in the comments there, who had the perfectly timed comment of short stay for me tonight. Hope you're both well. So I had to include that in it. I had to include that. Well done, Jack. Brilliant time. Just as Warwick was making the exact same joke. Brilliant. Wasn't the only Star Wars person at the BAFTAs this week. Mark Hamill was there. I also have a clip of Mark Hamill because I couldn't go to the show without showing Mark Hamill at the BAFTAs.
So what makes us love cinema so much that we're all gathered here to celebrate tonight? For me, it's that films create worlds so vivid and stories so powerful that we lose ourselves in them completely. They create immersive cinematic landscapes that feel alive, whether they're set here in London or anywhere.
Mark Hamill, who dropped his trousers on the BAFTA stage. Which made me chuckle. Poor Mark. Clearly hired his suit for the weekend and let down brilliantly.
I think he was basically trying to upstage Warwick, but nice try, Mark.
Anyone want to make any short jokes about Mark Hamill's trousers?
No, maybe not.
There we go. What a catch by Hamill. Yeah. And he just soldiered on. What a pro. He just soldiered on with his speech. It was brilliant. Poor Mark. It's I was going to say it's happened to us all, but it probably hasn't really, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, that tickled me this week. And actually, I think Warwick would have loved that. I think, yeah. As Jack says, the force is not with him. Next month, no, not quite. 2 months' time, or slightly less. It's going to be Star Wars Celebration. It's just under 2 months away. And we've got some more announcements. Hayden Christianson and Vanessa Marshall are both heading to Japan. Fantastic final 2 guests to be announced there, Paul.
Yeah. Have they stated that those are the last 2 guests to be announced? Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, Hayden, that's massive for the event. And Vanessa, a big friend of Fantha Tracks, We regularly hear her audio snippets on our various podcasts. So yeah, absolutely fantastic for the fans to be able to meet both of those. If you're wondering whether to meet Vanessa, go for it. She's absolutely fantastic. And I've met Hayden, and I actually met him twice at one celebration. But that's a story for another time. But yeah, he was brilliant, and I'm sure he actually clocked that it was me again in a slightly different disguise. But there you go. But yeah, definitely worth meeting them both, if it's for an autograph or for a photo opportunity.
Yeah. And if you're going for the photo opportunity, do remember it's a one-take photograph opportunity, so make sure your trousers are secure.
And that your eyes are open.
Yeah, definitely. Ah, dear. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm interested to see if there's going to be any content announcements involving Hayden, because it seemed to me that his appearance in Obi-Wan was quite widely appreciated, and I think we're expecting them to see him in Andor season 2 as well, I would think.
Yeah, I'd not thought about that. I mean, maybe there's the possibility that secretly in the background they've been working on either a Vader film or a Vader series as well. That's always got potential, and it would be great to obviously see Hayden involved in that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the bits that he's done recently when he was in Ahsoka and Kenobi, brilliant, really, well received, and he's clearly enjoying it as well. He's well and truly back involved with Star Wars and loving it.
Yeah. Jack making a comment that he's not too impressed with the guest list. Lots of people spend a lot of money to be there, but maybe the guest list isn't up to what Jack was hoping for. And he would like to see the autographs and the photo prices be a little bit lower. I think it's going to be a smaller show. I think Mark's chiming in there as well. He kind of agrees. It's going to be a much smaller show than maybe some of the celebrations like we've had in the UK or America, I think. And so the guest list probably reflects that. And I think the problem with pricing and photographs and autographs now is it's not really under the control of the convention anymore. It's really much the guests will set their level. And so the conventions have to price accordingly to make it work.
I don't know what you think, Brian, but I think more than any other celebration event that I can recall, this is going to perhaps be more about what you do beyond the convention than the convention itself. Because obviously Japan, for many people, is an exotic and far away place to go to. So you're not going to want to go there just to spend 3 days in a convention center and then go home.
I think that's fair. I think you're bringing guests that the local Japanese audience wouldn't ordinarily have access to. So they're satisfied in that regard. For us visiting, I think you're probably right that the convention is what's bringing us to the country, but we're also probably all going to stay a little bit extra to enjoy the country and experience the country, because the whole of Asia, it's fair to say, is otherworldly compared to Western society, whether that be America or Europe. And I mean that in the kindest, most positive way. I've been to quite a few of the Asian countries, and it is eye-opening and a fantastic experience. And I think people will probably bring back more memories outside of the convention than inside of the convention.
That's exactly what that's what I mean. Yeah, and I think that's exactly what will happen. Yeah.
Phil Parker agreed, and Essen was definitely one of his favourites, which was a small convention, really in terms of scales. I had a lot of fun there as well. First time I met up with Mr. Newbold and Mr. Booker in person, you see. These are the things that happen. Mark suggested maybe they're keeping their powder dry for the 50th in 2027. Speculation is always good.
I'll definitely be at that one. Definitely.
You hope.
If it goes ahead and I'm alive, I will be.
Next up, Fantha Tracks had an exclusive reveal this past week in the Star Wars Unlimited cards. 2 new cards, as Mr. Newbold has so creatively typed up on FanthaTracks.com, have docked at Port Borgo, and they couldn't be more different. So they're arriving the 14th of March, and we can check them out now. First one up is the Falcon on a card determined as They Hate That Ship. And we've also got Darth Vader on the Scourge of Squadrons card as well. So fans of Star Wars Unlimited have this whole new set known as Jump to Lightspeed heading their way, and lots of new content for them to enjoy, I think.
That Vader card, the way the image, the angle that's been taken in that TIE fighter. Mark and I had the privilege to attend Dave Prowse's last public appearance, and there were some exclusive photos there that nobody was allowed to take photos of. And there was an image that was strikingly similar to that. It was just the white image of Vader in his TIE fighter, and it was something. I think Mark said he'd never seen it before, but it just reminds me of that.
Yeah, we could run a little trailer for the Star Wars Unlimited as well, for those that aren't necessarily familiar with the card game. I absolutely love that logo. I think it's gorgeous, isn't it?
Really nicely done little piece, that, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I'm hoping that this is kind of company that is at Japan, and I think because we don't have a stand, Fantha Tracks don't have a stand in Japan, I have a lot more time to be on the show floor.
Yeah.
And things that I've experienced in Japan and done not in Japan, well, certainly in Japan, yeah, the last time at Celebration, I was traveling there myself. You had a lot more time. Was to do things like the back then it was the custom card game and the RPGs, and actually sit down and play a little bit of them, because I don't have a comic book store local to me. So sometimes these card games and RPGs and things like that aren't necessarily as accessible or promoted as much in front of your eyes. And so something like that, I would love to sit down and discover a little bit more about.
Definitely worth doing. Yeah, I was at an event at the Space Centre in Leicester last year, I think it was.
I was there.
Yes, of course you were. You were filming it, weren't you, while I was playing that game?
No, I wasn't. I don't think so. No, I was only there one of the days. Was it one of the days? First day.
Yes, you were. Yes, sorry about that.
I arrived late in the day.
Yeah, but I got to sit down and have this RPG game explained to me. I still couldn't understand it. I mean, it was still going well over my head. Hi, John. But it was just bizarrely complex to me, But still, it's always good to sit down and have a look at it. Yeah, do that. Make sure you do that.
Yeah, something like that would be a lot of fun. And next up in the news front, more fun to be had. Star Wars Episode 1 Jedi Power Battles is coming to limited run games. So if you don't know, limited run games take traditionally vintage games, give them a re-release as a physical pack, as a limited run. So these tend to be further in their Star Wars range. So it tends to be classic games that Lucasfilm are re-releasing for modern consoles, and limited run games will take that and give that a physical release as a standard edition and as a premium edition box, because people love to have physical things. So in the world where these games are getting refreshed, as digital only, limited run are kind of providing a physical opportunity to have that game. And the premium edition comes with all sorts of nice extra features, lovely box design, Obi-Wan metal figure, deployable folding droid pin, a commemorative droidica coin, certificates of authenticity, and all that kind of jazz. So as if you're a collector, these are the kind of things that you go looking for. Just on the Unlimited Games there, Phil Parker saying that Waterstones have a large unlimited section. And as he agrees with you, Paul, it looks a little bit complicated. So that's kind of, I think, sometimes encountering this in person is kind of important to cut through that. Sadly, I don't have a Waterstones even near me anymore because the local shopping centre has been shut down for not paying its rates. And Waterstones is gone with it. So hopefully Waterstones take a site somewhere else in my local town, and we get our Waterstones back, because they did. Your Phil is right. They did have quite a nice section on card games in there. But Paul, your thoughts on Jedi Power Battles? Obviously, getting a physical release here with limited run games.
I remember playing it years ago. It's a great game. I think there is the pendulum swung back towards the physical as well, hasn't it? Certainly my son's,
yeah.
Yeah, my son's got into buying vinyl rather than downloading music digitally, and I think that's what's happening with games as well. So, yeah, and it is always nice to actually physically own something. Otherwise, you don't feel you own it. If all it is something that exists digitally, well, wow, what do you do? But if you've got something where you've got all the beautiful artwork, in that extra limited edition pack where you've got your posters and your fold out droid keychain or whatever it was, that's what it's all about to collectors. And that's the thing that's going to sort of personalize it, if you like. It means that you feel part of Star Wars rather than just a viewer of it. So for me, that's definitely the way to go. I mean, these things don't come out that often. I know there's been a few recently, but it'll go quiet again for a while. So if you're into video games, then invest, because it's going to be it.
Yeah. Phil's asking, is the shopping centre in Elgin, the St Giles Centre in Elgin, for anyone interested? Do £750,000 in unpaid council tax? There you go.
Phil, if you'd like to send them a bit of a bonus, then might get it open again.
Yeah. Rob making a comment as well. The other great thing about Japan is all the vintage game stores. I agree, that is something to try and hit up. You can just walk about certain sections of Tokyo, for example, and all sorts of amazing toys for geeks like us. Mr. Newbold, physical media is where it's at. Why they still don't release CD sets of the music is beyond me. Money. Yeah. Actually, the last CD I bought was a Darth Elvis CD. And I bought it at a convention in Aberdeen from Darth Elvis himself. And I got back to my car and I went to put it on and realised I didn't have a CD player in my car. And then I realised I didn't have a CD player at home either. But I took it to work and I copied the files and Dropboxed it back to my home PC. There you go. Yeah. So I did get eventually access to the music, but the lack of physical media and devices to play them on absolutely becoming something of an issue, I think. My Xbox doesn't have a drive, for example, so a physical copy of something is no good to me. Mr. Newbold's looking forward to checking out the vintage shops in Japan. And he also points out he got the Blues Harvest EP in the latest Indiana Jones 5 movie CD set. There you go. There's a man living in the past.
But to be fair, he's king of the geeks, isn't he? You know, he's quite different.
You can imagine Mark still with the vintage record player, I think, out there.
He still buys real clothes, Brian. He doesn't download them. He buys real clothes. I can't believe it.
Terrible. We can check out a trailer for Jedi Power Battles, I think. Maybe. Can we? No, we can't. I didn't download it. There we go. There we go. If I had a physical copy of the trailer, I would play it. I do not. Jonathan's he's got it as a digital download on PS5. Remember playing it a long time ago in the PS1 days. Great game. I do hope more Star Wars classics come. I haven't seen any announced as upcoming at the moment. Normally you get kind of like a 2-month kind of awareness of what's coming next. But yeah, there's still a lot of games that they could release for modern consoles, and they seem to be doing really well. I highly recommend the Dark Empire remastered
Yeah.
one as well.
And Pod Race is a good one as well. The one that I would love to see them bring back. Am I right in thinking that with all of these, thanks, Mark. Am I right to think that with all of these re-releases that they are slightly enhanced?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not necessarily any changes to the gameplay, but they're kind of upscaled, I guess, as a bare minimum, or slightly developed a little bit for modern consoles. I wouldn't say they put a huge
I would
value
would
of
you-
work into it, but certainly they make an effort to bring it, modernize it a little bit.
Do you remember the Star Wars chess game where the characters moved and sort of threw them about? I would love to see that brought back out, but better quality graphics. That would be brilliant. I loved playing that.
Yeah, Rob's saying exactly what I was off to say. Remastered X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, the whole X-Wing and TIE Fighter series. That would be the dream. It really would. That was where Star Wars gaming excelled. The chess one, that's a hard sell, I think, for any company to push to re-release that one, I think.
It's just my wish list. It doesn't mean it's going to happen.
No, I wouldn't hold your breath, would be on that one. Mr. Newbold agreeing X-Wing versus TIE Fighter would be, he says a maxing, but we'll presume he's going to say amazing. His spelling's atrocious. If you've ever read FanthaTracks.com, Dark Forces, did I say Dark Empire? I think I said Dark Empire. I'm thinking of the comics. Dark Forces came out last year, yep. Yeah, there was Star Wars Clone Wars, Star Wars Demolition came out as digital as well. There's been quite a few. Some great games, that's for sure. Next on the news front, what have we got coming up next? Yeah, so coming up this Wednesday, Paul, is the latest Hasbro Fanstream. Wednesday the 26th, 11 a.m. Eastern, over in the Hasbro Pulse YouTube channel, which is 4 p.m. UK time. Mr. Newball's been kind enough to do the math. Goes the time. And as Hasbro announced it, a transmission is coming across the whole net. They're going to be making announcements in the Black Seas and the Vintage Collection. Paul, have you got any ambitions of what you would like to see come next from Hasbro?
Good question. I've got a feeling there might be some retro announcements in there as well. But from the Black Series, I would love to see some more deep cuts from the original trilogy. So I'm thinking Owen and Beru Lars from A New Hope. I'd love to see Lobot and Ugnaught and Bespin security guards in the Black Series from Empire. And from Jedi, so just some more of the background aliens, really, Klaatu, that sort of thing. Maybe even Yak Face. But yeah, just to see some real good sort of deep cuts, that would be good.
Well, my prediction, which will be spectacularly wrong, is I think on Tuesday the trailer for Andor Season 2 will drop.
You said this last week.
I know, but Lucasfilm traditionally like Tuesdays and Fridays, right? So that's generally when they drop news. But like, look back in time in history and you'll see it's like they don't go to work any other day of the week. They'll just PR people only turn in on a Tuesday and a Friday. And so let's just say Andor drops on the Tuesday. Wouldn't it be nice if on the Wednesday Hasbro announced Andor Season 2 figures?
That'd be cool. I'd be absolutely cool with that. Yeah.
Won't happen, but you know, that's how it should work.
No, because the Andor figures will probably come out in 3 years' time. But
You mentioned the Bespin twin guards. Mr. Newbold is also mentioned a popular Bespin character in Lobot. He was like a twin pack with KB.
yeah, that'd be cool.
I would love something that isn't a repaint clone variation. They need to restore faith in the Black Series line. I had to think what BS line was there because I was just thinking something else.
Black Series BS, it's all the same.
Yeah, it's all the same.
Yeah,
Neil
spot on.
Warren's saying Andor retro figures. That would be very nice.
Yes, yeah, that's a good shout. Yeah, yeah,
the
that
Aldani crew as Andor retro figures would look great.
yeah, that would be really good. Yeah, I'd love to see that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we will find out on Wednesday what's revealed, and we'll speak about it next week, and we'll see how good our predictions were. And the mention of KB, Mark can't help but throw in this one as well. If you check out Making Tracks on Fantha Tracks Radio this week, the Tuesday episode that drops at 7 p.m. Will be his interview with KB actress Kiriana Kratter. Is that how you? I hope that's how you say her name. I'll throw that up on the screen just again. So Tuesday at 7 p.m. because Mark Newbold, like Lucasfilm, likes to drop content on a Tuesday and a Friday. So if you listen to Fantha Tracks Radio, quite often there's new content on Tuesdays and Fridays. You see, everybody's got a pattern.
He also threw a rogue Q into the spelling of with there, so he's still
like he needs to sort this out. You know, the standards is dropping here. Like, although who was it? One of the press announcements that came out this week had a clangor of a spelling mistake in it as well, and I believe it might have been Hasbro, but I can't remember because I corrected it when I was doing the graphics for this show. They could not spell presented. Oh, it was BAFTA. That's who it was. If you go check out the BAFTA tweet for Warwick Davis getting his BAFTA fellowship, they can't spell presented. There you go. And that is the end of this week's news. But that's not where the content ends because, Paul, we're going to be talking everything Andor in our segment that we like to call the Death Star Cometh. So let's talk Andor Season 1. And we're talking Episode 3, The Reckoning, and Episode 4, Aldani this week, Paul. Andor, we've been over Episodes 1 and 2 of Andor Season 1. I think it wasn't until Episode 3 that the series hooked me. And thankfully at the time, they released the first 3 episodes together. So I didn't immediately lose interest in the season because it was, you know, you could run through and see the first 3 episodes, and episode 3 really hooked me, and I thought, you know, they're doing something different here, and it's got a lot to tell us. And then Aldani, which was based in the Highlands of Scotland, so very familiar to me. So by episode 4, you know, they'd won me over.
I loved it from the off. I thought everything about Andor, it just sort of it exuded a certain quality about it. It didn't feel as claustrophobic as some of the other Star Wars shows where they've obviously used the volume to such a high level that whilst it looks great, it's quite clearly not outside. With Andor, they went to real locations, and like you were saying, they were up in the Highlands of Scotland. And
Can't
so
get more real than that.
Sorry?
Can't get more real than that.
It can get more real. But it did. It just felt more gritty, more realistic, and the whole show benefits from it, I think.
Yeah. Let's check out Andor episode 3. So we started out in the episode with young Casa, or Cassian Andor lead, and he's boarded the ship that's crashed on his home planet, and everybody inside is dead. and he goes exploring the ship. Poor Paul struggling there with his painful back.
I was trying to be subtle.
It's all right. I'm going to point it out. I gotta laugh at your discomfort. And he goes exploring, finds lots of dead people, and he continues exploring. And we cut back to present time, and Andor's going around giving his goodbyes because he's going to go on the run, because obviously he's up for murder of the 2 Corsair security guards. But before he goes, his rebel contact, Luthen Rawl, has arrived on planet and meets up with his local contact and Andor's friend, Bix, and they arrange his meeting with Cassian. And as Mark Newbold points out, Paul's discomfort is still content for Fantha Tracks, absolutely.
Yes.
Talking of discomfort, my favourite Star Wars character in Cyril, extremely discomfort, as he's on the dropship as they head to planet to try and catch Cassian. And what a double act there of Cyril and Mosk played by Alex Ferns, who obviously was voted as one of the greatest villains ever in EastEnders, which celebrated its 40th anniversary this week. And he should have came back. They should have brought him back.
Oh, imagine that. Wasn't he killed with an iron?
He could have been. I can't remember.
Mark Newbold will know.
Yeah, Mark Newbold. Check that out. Was Alex killed by an iron on EastEnders? And I didn't know this, that the subtitles interpret Corsair as Corsex. There you go. That's why Cyril's deeply uncomfortable there in the little claustrophobic little dropship. Rob confirming that he was killed with an iron.
Thank you. Thank
Mr.
you,
Newbold
Rob.
also too late, but with his fact check in there. And Chris pointing out his little Mo. So everybody in America watching this, like, don't worry, we're just talking British rubbish. And everybody chimed in. Little Mo did it. Little Mo killed him. The content has gone off track here, Paul.
I love this. I do love it.
Here's little Mo, little BTE Mo.
Yeah, I loved all that. This when they look back, when they did the sort of flashback scenes, and you got B2 who was looking pristine. He's got 4 red feet rather than 3 red and 1 yellow. I loved all that. That was just sort of beautifully, beautifully executed. It wasn't. It was very subtle. It was great. I thought that was fantastic. How we're getting basically turning from Vincent in the black hole to Bob in the black hole by the time we see him in his later years. But it's brilliant.
So that's a young. We're going to call him Little B2 Emo.
Little
And in his younger days, meeting a young Casa, along with who is to become Casa's mother.
Marva Andor.
Marva Andor. And Chris pointing out that Carly Watts was locked in the freezer in Coronation Street. It's deeply irrelevant, but it's a soap cut there. So any other great kills in British soaps out there, let us know. Rob saying it, B2 Little Emu. I can't even say it anymore. One of his favourite droids. Yeah, I can't say that. I don't like droids. But that is Casa meeting who is to become his parents. Although we'll come back to that point because there's a glossed over point that people often forget. We'll come back to that in a future flashback in this episode. Meeting them for the first time, his adoptive family, shall we call them. And what a team of Corsair soldiers that looks like. That's that is some chunky security force there.
Put the big lads at the front.
Yeah, big lads at front, and Cyril just in there behind. Jim McDonald, that was another great death in a soap there.
I think I might have Jim McDonald's back at the moment.
It's getting even better. The comments, I'm loving the comments tonight. Oh dear. Emmerdale was always my soap. And just as I was commenting, this is his adoptive family. She drugged him. She injected him with a drug and stole him from his home planet, from his own people.
Yeah. It was the kindest thing to do.
You think? As his father-to-be was saying, just let him go. And she's like, nope, having him. Shocking. Absolutely shocking. Just terrible. And left his sister behind. And we never really get to know what the story is. Because obviously his sister get left behind. And then years later, he's trying to track down his sister who's gone into prostitution. And then the storyline's just completely abandoned. So how did he meet his sister in later life? Did he meet his sister in later life? What happened to her that she came off planet and went down that track?
I like how you assume she went into prostitution. She might just have been a dancer.
No, we've gone full-on prostitute here. Phil Parker, let's not forget that an automatic bunch of flowers that killed Dirty Dan. Mr. Newbold, seeing the opportunity. Can't believe we've covered Warwick and also been talking about East Endors.
Oh, but
Oh dear. We cut to modern day.
That could have just been a spelling mistake. Who knows?
Yeah. We cut to modern day Ferex, and Cyril meets Marva, wanting to arrest Cassian Andor for murder. Let's not forget that he's a murderer. And she basically refuses to give him any answers, so they give the place a good rummage over. And he attacks little B2 Emo to get information out of him. And unfortunately, Cassian is using his radio at that very time to contact B2 Emo and gives away his location. Yeah. And so our favourite duo of Cyril and Linus know where to find him, and they head off. A 10-minute walk it's going to be to his location, which is one of the best sets, and I'm presuming it's a set and not a real live location.
Yeah.
In Star Wars TV, I think, because not only does it look fantastic, but it becomes really interactive in the rest of the episode as those giant crane-like weights start crashing down.
I'll tell you what it felt like. It felt like it should have been translated into some sort of level of a game.
It would make a fantastic playable game, wouldn't it? Yeah. And Luthian Rail turns up to meet with Cassian, and they begin to negotiate over the sale of the device that Cassian's acquired from the Imperials. Phil really wants to report Mark's last comment, crimes against comedy and literacy.
Andor complaints Fantha Tracks at...
And Bix discovers that her boyfriend has betrayed Cassian. She's not too happy. And here is the device in question. We've all wanted one of these things. I can't remember what it is or what it does. But it's worth a good sum of cash.
That really does look shocking.
Luthian's got the money for it, and the negotiations are going well. It seems we get a lovely little speech as to why the rebellion's so wonderful. Andor's not really buying what's going on. He just wants his money, and meanwhile, Bix's friends are trying to raise the alarm by buying all the metal all around Ferex to alert people that the Corsac people are there and there's trouble a brewing. And Andor's friends are all alerted as Cyril and friends make their way across town. Andor and Luthien continue this debate, I guess you would call it, as to the values of rebellion. It became quite. I think for me at this point, this is when the Andor series became something really different and quite adult in its content, in terms of this isn't necessarily an easy conversation that they're having.
Yeah. There's a lot of trying to figure each other out, isn't there, going on?
Yeah, it starts to get quite dark from this point on, I think, the series.
Yeah. I mean, Cassian thinks that Luthen's there for one reason. He's actually there for him. He wants him to come and help him out with what happens in the subsequent 3 episodes. But yeah, it's tense. It also reminds me a lot, particularly the weaponry, but also this scene would have fit beautifully in something like Blade Runner. It's got that Blade Runner kind of feel to it. Yeah, it's just top-notch stuff, really is.
Yeah, Chris asking a great question: where are the 3 3/4 inch corpo dropships and troop building units? Bex, she's also trying to raise the alarm, but she gets caught and arrested by the Corsac guys. Meanwhile, Andor and Luthien realise that the Corsac are just outside, so Luthien blows the doors with a bomb that he planted earlier, and they realise that the device is across the other side of the room from them as they enter into a gunfight with the Corsac people. Whilst my favourite duo in the whole series continuing to cross the town, Cassian and Luthien escape that room but without the device, and Bix is arrested, held captive, and her boyfriend comes running along to try and save her, realising how he's done wrong, gets shot right in the gut, and dies right in front of her.
That was the end of Tim.
Which serves him right. He was a traitor. Mr. Newbold agreeing this is where things started to get interesting. The first 2 set the scene, but Luthien kicks off the intrigue. And he's also saying, that room is a Hasbro set with a change dropping would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be really cool. Bit niche, though, I think.
Yeah. Proving that Cyril's my favourite character. He just randomly shoots at a couple of little aliens for no real reason. And Bix there, we are dead boyfriend.
Right.
And Andor and Luthien on the run. How can you not love this guy? You know, Sergeant Linus Mosk taking a drink of whiskey before he gets the big guns out.
Just a wee dram.
Just a wee dram before you go shooting people. And Cyril, he could have been doing with a drink. He's finding this all very difficult.
He could do with some of that cereal that matches his uniform.
Meanwhile, Marva's still under arrest. And she's kind of taunting the people with a little speech about rebellion. Cyril's getting anxious. And he had every right to be, because right behind him is the man that he's hunting, Cassian Andor, who draws a gun to the back of his head. But for once, Cassian doesn't kill him. Chris making a comment, to be honest, the casting of the characters, I thought he was in Hollywood. There were so many British characters in there, wasn't there? British actors in there. Showing how traitorous the whole of the planet Ferrix is and why they deserve to be blown up by the Death Star. Has they tied the Corsac ship to a giant bit of metal to stop it taking off to help. So poor Cyril, he's been held captive by Cassian and left all tied up. And Linus, with a drink in, gets his gun out. What a great screenshot that was.
It's just me that thinks he looks like a young Les Dawson. That's not really no good for the US people, but for the UK people, that guy is a young Les Dawson.
And he starts taking pot shots at Renault Reliant.
I was going to say exactly that.
Chris bringing up the Space Nesquik serial. We haven't reached that point yet, but we're going to get there, I think. Cassian looks like Paul McCartney circa 1971. He does.
Yes, very true.
With Linus's shots, the Remote Reliant blows up. And we've got that. Look how happy he is. Got a smile on his face. And even Cyril, look at that, delighted. They think they've caught Andor, and they think they've caught Luthien Rail. But right behind them, they take off in a speeder bike. And they blow up the Renault Reliant, killing a whole number of Corset guys, Paul.
Yeah, it worked out well for Andor. They're very well planned. I love it when a plan comes together.
Poor Cyril. How could you not feel sorry for that face?
I know, look at him. Bless him. Oh.
And the two terrorist scumbags escape. As Cyril and Linus have to look at the death in front of them. And all they're trying to do is bring peace and order to the galaxy. And as Chris points out, think of the paperwork they're going to have to do now. Shocking. And meanwhile, these are the people that are supposed to be our heroes, dragging a child and stealing him from his home planet.
And the droid. No, the droid came with them. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
Shocking.
And is that some power cells that they've stolen as well?
I'm presuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, that they weren't part of the ship that crash landed. They've just basically looted that ship.
That is correct.
Yeah. And obviously, Marva's there, kind of knows what's going on, and she's probably not going to see Cassian again. Puts on the fake tears. Bix is freed and sort of falls over her shot boyfriend when she should really realise that he's the cause of all their trouble. And we get a little flash round Andor's friends as well, as they all realise the fate in store for Andor. He's now a much wanted man.
He was really good. That character was Brasso. I thought he was really good in the scenes that he was in. Yeah. Real strong.
More quality comments. Was that the chap from the bill? It probably was. I can't remember the bill. All I can remember is the sort of the geeky guy. Being someone that works in the agricultural industry, that's another reason to hate Cassian Andor. He's just tore a right through the middle of the fields. Come on, man. It's not about shocking.
It is nice to see some crop rotation going on, though, Brian.
Yeah, Cass's stepdad. I don't know if he was from the bill. I have no idea. That's a great question. Mr. Newbold, fact check that one for us. Cassian's father or stepfather, was he in the bill? Phil agreeing with you there. Highly polished character was Brasso.
Yeah. Phil, every time you make me laugh, my back is killing me. Please, no more.
And we get Cyril's sad face. But he gets pepped up by Linus. Come on, Linus, you sort them out. And Cassian's back with Luthien back to his ship. And we kind of get a little bit of foreshadowing with Cassian and Luthien staring out the front of the ship. And we get the abducted child, the Madeleine McCann of Star Wars, dragged and stolen from her parents with Marva to end the episode. And, it'll never get brought up again, but, what happened to his prostitute of a sister, what happened to the fact that he was drugged and abducted as a child, just like he goes about killing random people. fact check here from Mr. Newbold. He was in one episode of The Bill in 1999. Great shout there from Chris.
Oh,
This week's show is really reaching
to be
out to
honest,
the international audience, Paul.
I think if I think if we went round the room, I think we've probably all been in at least one episode of The Bill. It's
Oh, yeah,
is
I
it
think so. I
UK
think so.
law that you have to be in?
It's gone dark very quickly. It has gone very dark very quickly.
It
Should
did,
we go
it
to a
did.
more uplifting episode? Should we?
Yes,
Should we
please.
go? Let's jump forward. We'll go episode 4, and we kicked off with them jumping into hyperspace,
Yeah.
and Andor and Luthien start to have a little conversation about what's next going to happen to Cassian, and Luthien tries to sort of enlist him to the rebellion a little bit, and they have a back and forth, an argument, and it's an interesting debate as to principles and so on. And Luthien kind of realizes he's probably not going to get anywhere with Cassian, because what interests in Cassian most is money. And so they come to some kind of financial agreement. Here we go, we're talking about being stuck in British tours. He was also in Grange Hill. There we go. Don't do drugs, children, or you end up like Cassian's sister. That's what happens. They don't do drugs, or you're going to get abducted like Cassian. There you go. Samo, what was Samo just
That's
saying?
what happened to Zamo. Yeah,
just saying.
Zamo's now on Dagobah. Yeah.
Interesting question there from Chris. That there's no distinction between officer and enlisted ranks in Corsic. Good point. Didn't notice that. Go. Yeah, there we go. Should we talk about Biker Grove? Brookside. Mr. Newport suggested a new show, Bike Skate Grove.
Oh dear, no.
Meanwhile, we're heading to the capital of the galaxy, Coruscant.
Always nice to go back.
And we meet this character.
Yes.
Who?
Claire from Fantha Tracks.
From Fantha Tracks. Who, I guess, how would you describe her as?
I would describe her as Dead Ramiro.
No, but in terms of a character, she was quite cold-hearted, wasn't she?
I would say she's ambitious, she's ruthless, doesn't suffer fools, humorless.
And she was amazing in the role.
She was amazing. Yeah, she's a badass. Yeah. She would stand her ground with, and this isn't meant to be sexist. It's only because of physiological strength. But I think she would stand her ground with any man. She's pretty phenomenal as a character, and brilliantly acted by Denise as well.
Yeah. And on Coruscant, or London Canary Wharf, as some of us are.
We've seen that.
It's where the Imperial Intelligence Bureau's located. Mr. Newbold making a point. Those meds for your back are working wonders, Paul.
Thank you. I don't know where I am. This is like a dream sequence. I don't know what's going on.
You need to see these kind of people in white coats, I think.
We're at a dentist convention now, are we? Is that what this is?
We get to see the inner workings of the finest of Star Wars officials trying to keep peace and justice across the whole galaxy. Yeah. And all of these officials, each one is in charge of a sector, and they're getting their instructions. And they bring up the issues with Corsic and our Mr. Cassian Andor and Ice Cream Sellers HQ.
Could be.
Could be. And pressure is put on them from above to sort out this lawlessness that's going on. Meanwhile, we head to the Scottish Highlands and we meet Luthien and Cassian, who are now on the planet Aldani, and their local contact is on the way, and Luthien is trying to buy Cassian into doing a job for him with some random crystal,
Kyber
apparently
crystal.
worth 50,000. Major Party Gaz, yes, Major Party Gaz. Anton Lesser played him. Very good character throughout the series. And we meet the local rebels on Aldani, who Luthien has set up. And as Chris says, the Duke of Edinburgh expedition now starts.
So he's got Velsartha, who comes to meet Luthen, and basically she had no idea that Cassian was going to be coming along for the ride for the job that they're about to do, and so he now has to convince him that he's the right man to be with her. He just basically says he's coming with you, whether you like it or not. It's up to you how you tell the others. And Cassian adopts the great new name of
Clem!
Clem, which doesn't sound unlike phlegm, but which is great.
Which is great. And then we cut to the next scene, which I think is a scene that people kind of overlook. And this is very critical to the whole political dynamics of Star Wars. Because in this scene, Coruscant is dismantled completely and the Imperials take over. So all these planets that have their own, basically controlled by Coruscant security, private security, dismantled at this point in time. And the Imperials now take over command of all security on all these planets. So the whole corporate sector done away with, and Imperials take over in one swift move, and they're all sacked.
Well, I heard that they each received an email and were asked to report back as to what they'd done over the last week, and they got 24 hours to report back.
There you go. It's Clem Fandango. Can you hear me?
Don't do it, Rob.
But yeah, that in terms of the dynamics of Star Wars, I think is one of the most critical scenes ever, and it's just not discussed enough. Meanwhile, back in Aldani, we get a little. Isn't the Highlands of Scotland where I live? Isn't it beautiful? There we go. Look at that.
It is beautiful. What I find disturbing here is not only did the poor girl not know that Cassio was going to be involved with the gang, he's gone and nicked her shawl as well. Look, what's that all about?
That's true. That's a good point. It was cold. It's often quite cold up here. And the TIE fighters are flying by as well, so they've got to hide from that. And he's getting brought back to the rebels' camp. Meanwhile, Deidre, she's digging into Cassian Andor. She's determined to bring back justice to the galaxy. We also get what I think is a wonderful scene with Luthien Rail, where he transforms himself into his Coruscant appearance by putting on his wig and his makeup, and he does a little dance.
Yeah, he does a little dance that wasn't dissimilar to the dance of somebody in Silence of the Lambs, but we won't dwell on that.
You can see him having a fine wine, can't you?
He had his Buffalo Bill moment.
Yeah, it was definitely a Buffalo Bill moment. And there we go. Isn't it beautiful? Like as Mark says, you can see my house from there. And there it goes. There's my house. I've been there. I went to the shooting location. If you check out Fantha Tracks social media, I'm sure you'll find it on there. But yeah, we went to the 2 shooting locations in Scotland, and at that location we walked right past it when we ended up walking a couple of miles up into the hills and the forest, and we only discovered it thanks to Mr. Paul McHugh, who spotted it on our way back. And so if you check out Fantha Tracks social media, you'll see videos, and pictures from our actual trip there. We've actually found where the camp was and took photos right in front of that sort of upturned kind of tree stump where you see on the right of the picture there.
That slide there, bro, as well. That was the one that caused a bit of controversy when the trailer was released, when they were saying that those weapons were actual real
AK-47s.
There we go. Thank you, Chris. Yeah, so the AK-47s, that did get a bit of a thumbs down.
Yeah, they were a little bit too earthly, weren't they?
Yeah.
Not enough sci-fi. Yeah, I kind of agree. They messed up there, I think. And Cassian's introduced to the crew, and he crossed a little bridge, which doesn't exist in real life. Put there just for the production to get to that camp. If you do decide to make the trail, you'll find it after the first shooting range. So just to the left of the picture, there is I guess like a wooden platform that you can lie on, and if you look up into the trees, you will see like a fake metal deer that you can take pot shots at as you practice your shooting. And the camp is directly to the right of that, and wild horses and everything kind of roam that kind of area. Yeah, so yeah, it was really interesting where that was based. This, I think, is the McLaren F1
Right.
offices, which I've never
Yes.
been to. But they filmed there, and that's Cassian arriving back at the airport on Coruscant with his luggage, having been sacked, and walking through the Barbican in London. And you'll see all these locations on Fantha Tracks social media. And he heads home to see his mum. And what happens? His mother gives him a slap. His own mother. What a disgrace. And look at the neighbour across the way just watching. Poor Cyril. He's not happy being home. He's had to go all the way back to Coruscant, and he's lost his job.
He feels guilty about it and gets him a bowl of his turquoise cereals, doesn't she? Cereal.
Yeah, don't get to see the goats in this episode, but Chris does bring up the goats were a little bit too Earth-like. Again, if you go on Fantha Tracks social media, we went to meet the actual goats. We met the goats. They're probably now eaten, probably, but
yeah,
there we go.
Did you get an autograph?
We got a pack of sausages, I think. Controversial. Mr. Newport there.
You can't find footage of Brian on a Tauntaun.
Yeah. Do we know how past the sell-by date the Nesquik is? Don't know, but it looked a strange colour. Rob saying she reminded him of Estelle Getty. I don't know who Estelle Getty is. I'm going to have to Google that now.
Yeah. Very old lady that was in a lot of films. Yeah. She was also in. Was she in the Golden Girls?
She was best known for a portrayal of Sophia Petrello on The Golden Girls, for which she won Golden Globe Award for Best Actress. Yeah, I never seen The Golden Girls, so I can't comment on that one.
Oh, don't say that to Darth Elvis. That's one of his favourites.
Is it?
Yeah.
See, Mr. Newbold fact checking us there. Too slow this time. So Cyril, we'll find out more about Cyril's home life in next week's show. But we go back to Aldani, and Anders getting some medical treatment, which Paul here's needing, and a nice medical shot. And then we get our first interesting scene with Mon Mothma. And it's on Coruscant as she visits slimy Luthen Real and visits his shop of antiquities. And the guys that she's going to buy something for her beloved husband. And really, she's getting instructions from Luthen as to what's going on with the rebellion. Meanwhile, back on Aldani, we find out that one of the Imperials is an absolute traitor scumbag and is basically helping the rebellion. And we get to meet Mon Mothma's husband as well. A lovely fellow who's trying to
He's
organise a dinner party.
What a horrible man.
Oh, Paul, shocking.
What a vile creature.
Just trying to help her political career by getting some influential people around for dinner, and she was very unappreciative. Poor show. And in Aldani, we get first information on what Cassian or Clem is there for, and the rebels spell out what their plans are for basically stealing the hard-earned wages of Imperial civil servants. It's a bit like Elon Musk and Doge to bring it into modern-day politics. If our friends in America haven't checked out the show by now with references to the bill and Rebecca Grove and EastEnders, that's probably the final element that switched you off this week. Apparently she was also Stallone's mum and Stop or My Mum Will Shoot. There we go. Chris asking the question, do we think that Cyril's mysterious uncle is Palpatine? I would love it. I would love it if Palpatine's in season 2.
Yeah. That would be great.
Yeah, dioramas. Everybody loves a diorama. Chris, I love the fact that a guy in the group employed to make a model. He is the kind of guy like someone asked him to make a model and he's just gone overboard, isn't he? He's just made it far too fancy. And it's a pretty good representation. I've actually been there to the dam, took a walk up the hill to the dam, and it's a pretty good representation of the whole area. Uncle Harlow was the guy's name, but it could be Uncle Sheev. Uncle Sheev has got many a personality. I've got a funny feeling it's going to be someone from the Imperial Intelligence Bureau. These gentlemen, as they continue to get their orders to hunt down Cassian Andor, get a grip of the situation, people. Let's get this terrorists back under control, as it should be. And we're ending out the episode with Cassian, or Clem, getting told his role in this grand rebellion is going to be piloting the ship to escape with the money on. And we got a lovely, beautiful campfire scene to end the episode. And really, you shouldn't be setting fires like that in Scottish woodland because it's a lot of moss and heather. It spreads quickly. Paul, your thoughts on episodes 3 and 4, because there was a lot there that we covered.
Yeah. Episode 3 wrapped up the first quarter of the season quite nicely. And it's quite clearly broken up into 12 episodes, 3 episodes, 3 episodes, 3. So the first 3 episodes you could watch as a movie, as a very long movie. But 3 certainly was the big impact episode in that string of shows, as is the episode 6 when we come to it, which we'll talk about in a future episode
next week.
Yeah, I think the setup of it in 4 is great. It's sort of like total sort of we've drawn a line under what's happened in the battle, and we've gone over to Aldani, and it feels quite tranquil to begin with. But it's all going to kick off, and it was lovely to see a TIE fighter at last. To actually have something in there to go, oh, Star Wars. So that for me was a big bonus. But for me, the thing that stole the show was Mr. Rail's transformation, simply by putting on a bit of a wig, some new clothes, some new rings, and then doing his jazz hands.
Jazz hands almost, wasn't it? It was almost like a stage show.
Brilliant. Yeah, but I mean, he's obviously very sort of focused on who he is as a character through his clothes and through his look. So very theatrical. But yeah, great stuff. Yeah. Yourself.
I loved episode 3. that is the episode that got me hooked. And it was all Linus and Cyril, like quite a double act. And I just tickled me pink. And it's like, and you know what it is? It's because I'm a big fan of the Imperial side of Star Wars. I just can't help myself.
Well, I
And you know
noticed.
what? That might surprise you, Paul. You might never guess. And,
What?
but you never see deep dive representation, really, of the Imperials.
Yeah.
And I always refer back to the comics that had Sunter Fell as the TIE Fighter pilot in the X-Wing comic series. It was issue 25. It was a 48-page special. That was really the first time ever, I think, in Star Wars expanded universe beyond the films, that you actually got to see things from an Imperial perspective. And Anders kind of floats back and forth between the terrorist rebellion opinions and the Imperial opinions. And I guess you're supposed to support the rebels. But you can't help but love the Imperials a little bit in Andor. And I think that's what makes it so good. And it's got this kind of realization that, you know, for this rebellion, they did a lot of bad things.
You know, from a certain point of view, you know, old Obi-Wan was right. Everything, you know, you can view everything from whatever side of the dice you want to.
It's just an evil religion, basically, the Jedi. Chris is agreeing with you on the TIE Fighter. It was indeed one of the first callbacks. And I think it's nice that it took to the fourth episode before you were getting too much that was familiar.
Yeah.
My only disappointment, I guess, with the first 4 episodes is a point I've made continuously, that there's too much of the content forgotten about, I think, a little bit in terms of where the story goes next. Cassian's sister's completely forgotten about. The fact that Cassian was abducted as a child is never really brought up again, which is really quite shocking, really, because it's quite a horrendous.
That comes down to point of view again now, doesn't it? Because, I mean, you could see that as a child being rescued or abducted, whichever way
but
you
he's
want.
been separated from basically from his sister at that point. So how did they reconnect?
But they wouldn't have known that, though, would they? Because he didn't speak English or whatever you want to call it. But
he would have known that his sister was no longer there, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Chris.
But yeah, I think a couple of
you're definitely supposed to support the rebels.
Yes. What I liked about Andor as a series throughout was that it was very much the closest thing that we've had to a book in film form, because the pacing of it's allowed to breathe, it's allowed to take its time to build up.
Yeah.
So that's what I enjoyed most about Andor, and I think because of that, and because of there's so much content in there, you can go back and watch it 2, 3, 4 times quite easily and get something different from it every time.
Yeah. Rob making the point, it was good to see the bureaucracy behind the show of power from the frontline Imperials. I like that, yeah. You said English, so Mr. Newbold just chimed in there, basic.
I know, I couldn't remember what it was.
But he does agree with it. Andor feels more like a novel. And I think I like that, and I think that's something that Star Wars TV needs to adopt more, that you can get a little bit more into the weeds and a little bit more in depth, and you don't have to push.
Don't rush it.
No.
Yeah, just don't rush. Take your time with it. If it's a good story to tell, then take your time with it and have faith in the story.
And it's a little bit like the 4th episode. There wasn't too much in the 4th episode to get your teeth into in terms of, but what they were doing were introducing all these new characters on Aldhani in order to ramp it up in the next 2 episodes.
Yeah, it was teasing what was to come. Yeah. Good stuff.
Here's a good question. Do you think that after Cassian got caught in the alien's net after the prison break, he was like, right, that's it, stay missing? We're going to have to come to that when we reach that episode.
Possibly, yeah.
But yeah,
I forgot about that.
Yeah, so our next 2 episodes is going to wrap up the Aldhani tale. And the money stealing rebels.
Yeah, where the good guys take the money away from those bad Imperials.
Yeah.
Look forward.
As Mr. Newbold points out, it's the 3rd, 6th, 9th, and 12th episodes that give us the payoffs. the other episodes were building to those.
Yeah.
I think that's true, and I think that's basically where they're going with the structure of season 2 as well, where they've been quite clear it's going to be 4 different time periods split into 3 episode blocks. If you check out the comments, Fantha Tracks have posted the Instagram.com location for where you can look at our content from Glen Tilt, which is where the Aldani camp is. I'll just throw that back up on the screen as it times out. So you can find the location, and you can see the fallen tree on your left. And if you want to find it, you can get all the details there.
Very cool. I do like going to these different locations. That is really, really cool when you go and find somewhere where something's been filmed.
Yep. So check out the show comments. You'll get the link on there to our Instagram. And that is it for this week's Death Star Cometh, which is part of Good Morning Tatooine, your weekly recap of all the latest Star Wars news, live streaming every Sunday at 9 p.m. in the UK, 4 p.m. in New York. And Paul, back to Good Morning Tatooine, just in time to say goodbye. It's 10:20. It's been a long show. I wasn't expecting that.
You've made me sit uncomfortably for an hour and 20 minutes.
But it was worth it, wasn't it? Every second was worth it.
Always worth it. Always worth it.
Should we just end it quickly so you can run and grab some pain medication, and I'll just say, it's a good night from me.
And it's a good night from Clem.
From Clem?
Keep up to date with the latest Star Wars news each and every day on FanthaTracks.com. You can also find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Tumblr, and Pinterest at Fantha Tracks. And be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and follow Fantha Tracks TV to be alerted to new content and to be a part of our live shows.